Give me a minute, y'all, to make sure I've shared this. And I'll talk to you for a moment. If you're watching the replay, you can skip ahead. So, I wanted to talk for a second. If I can get comfortable here. Okay. So I wanted to talk a second about Menace's Twitter, which is a genius, an awesome Twitter account that, if you don't know what he does, essentially... Hold on, let me get this thing pulled back up here. Essentially, Menace's Twitter calls out the hypocrisy in a couple communities that are basically, they try to brand themselves, and let me describe it for people who have never seen it, just because it's been a while since we've talked about any of this, but they basically are what you would call a watchdog community, or in the past has been called a watchdog community. So watchdog communities were always looked at as communities that would go around and fact check, debunk, and just keep an eye on certain things, like certain communities, right? And that's what the Kater, which is my new term to describe the antikj, or the lobster cult's target community. As you guys know, that's the anti-KJs are basically a watchdog of KJ, though they can't be described as that, because if you look at what they do, they don't fact check. Instead, they ignore facts. They just lie, or they just say anything they can to insult or put down Katie. And it's why they are haters. So I wanted to give a description that anyone who clicked in would be able... I wanted to give a description so that anyone who clicked in would kind of be able to be caught up on the whole thing, instead of just the people that know what's going on. So I think I did that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this awesome feature of Twitter Spaces, where Twitter Spaces aren't like Twitter Lives. I can actually look at Twitter while I'm doing the Twitter Space, and I still have the controls to my Twitter Space at the bottom of my screen. And I'm going to go down Menace's Twitter, take a look at a couple things that I think express some really good points. Also, I think it shows that the predictions that I made a long time ago about this community have come true. And then on top of that, I want to discuss something really crazy, because this community, if you didn't know, the Lobster Man has come back off of his hiatus, and I'm going to explain what made him go on his hiatus. I'm going to explain why he came back, and I'm going to explain something he talked about when he came back, and his entire narrative when he came back, because he did a stream. And yes, this stream relates to why his friends, in my opinion, are trying to act like Nat never existed, even though we have video, pictures, and a lawyer basically sharing what the police and authorities have done to combat this person, Nat, and figure out what happened. Now they're trying to say that she didn't even exist. And they're not doing it for the reasons that you think they are, because they know that she did exist. They're doing it, obviously, because they are trying to create a narrative in preparation for something that's coming. There is something that's coming that they know about, because it's targeting them. And in order to prepare for this, they've had to build some narratives. So I've got a prepared little thing for you that I'm going to start as soon as I take a drink from my G Fuel, which I'm going to go ahead and start with. Actually, let me start with the Menace part of this, Menace's Twitter part of this, and then I'll lead into the rest. Oh, thank you, honey. Thank you, honey, honey. Honey bunny. Ah, I've got lemonade G Fuel is what I'm drinking today. Lemonade G Fuel. Okay. So, Menace's top tweet. Oh, actually, let me go to the first one. And I'm going to leave out names, of course, but you'll be able to understand what I'm saying. So, Menace does a poll. I'm going to sue Katie. This isn't about the money. It's about doing the right thing or justice. Result: no lol suit even filed. And this is from multiple people. Then you've got a bad act and showing evidence to debunk or expose them. When I was active. Oh, wait, no, actually, hold on. I'm starting in the wrong spot. Menace says, there is something I've never understood about the Katers and lobster cult. If someone is a terrible person and others want to call them out, why is it so hard to drop receipts and call out their shitty behavior? Why are they posting about trees and cats instead of posting about a bad act and show evidence to debunk or expose it? When I was actively exposing the Lobster Man, there was never a shortage of lies and deceptions to expose. In fact, there was so much I often had to pass over some because there simply wasn't enough hours in a day. Menace continues, I can't help but conclude that they simply don't have evidence of the behavior they claim is coming from people like KJ, Unirock, myself, etc. What we do is observe a lie or shitty act. We archive it and then criticize it while showing the receipts. What they do is claim. And again, he's only including Katie in this because that's their target, okay? But he continues that John Doe is bad and does XYZ. Then they proceed to shit on their parenting or couch or tree or car, etc. without ever producing evidence of XYZ. Why? Because evidence doesn't exist. This is what makes them haters and renders their actions targeted harassment. If someone does shitty things, you should have no problem exposing them with evidence. If your go-to is to attack their personal lives, then lie about the things you claim they're doing wrong. It makes you worse than anything you claim she's done. Which, he is correct. He's absolutely correct. One of the, and I've said this for a long time, one of the lies that these types of people will push on communities that they target or to protect themselves inside theirs is that you can't measure and judge and tell the difference between targeted harassment, jokes, criticism, and the like. And while if you only have single or minimal examples to judge, yes, it almost is impossible. When you have large amounts of content to judge from, you can come to a determination, and it is scientific or it is viable. The second biggest lie that I've always talked about is saying that you can't prove anything without recording it, which have no reason to go on a big rant or discussion to prove how that is just complete bullshit. One of the biggest go-tos that I would use in order to back up that point, as you know, if you've listened to me before, which most of you have that are in here, is that you can go to prison for murder without being recorded murdering. And how do they catch you? What happens? Like, if they don't have any physical evidence yet you still go to prison, how does that work? You can have many witnesses. You can have many examples of behavior of a single person attempting to harm and target someone before they're murdered for years and years and years, right? And they become a prime suspect, and then you end up questioning the family. Where were they that night? They weren't here, and you end up getting their side. And another thing that so let's use that example. When police get your alibi, do you know how important an alibi is? And you got to follow me on this because I'm going to make a really good point. So if you are targeted in an investigation for murder and they go and question everybody around you, they're going to take you, put you into isolation, which luckily here on the internet, we are already in isolation from each other. Then they're going to ask you what your alibi is and where you were. And if you lie to them, they're going to charge you with murder. They're going to use the fact that you're lying and the fact that other people have been able to tell that you weren't with them, or you weren't there, or you weren't here. And even without physical evidence, they will be able to charge you with murder in that instance. Why is that? If what they say about the standard of evidence is true. In fact, what I think it shows us is that the standard of evidence is the exact opposite of what they say it is. Behavioral evidence, the choices people make, are the most evidence. The way that they act, what they decide to do, how they treat other people is the most evidence. And this is how in the past I've been able to enter communities that this is how I've entered communities in the past that have dealt with targeted harassment and been able to positively identify who is doing that targeted harassment very easily, without any tricks, without any special knowledge, successfully. And it's how I've been able, when looking at people who are doing this kind of stuff that we're talking about, I've been able to tell you what they'll end up doing in the future to defend themselves or to lie when those big events have happened. So part one here, I just read to you Menace's breakdown, and I explained how the burden of evidence is not what they claim it is. And I've stated that one of the most important parts of an investigation is your own testimony. Okay. So in part two, because I want to grab a couple things really quick, because I was only going to do like a 5-minute scope, but I'm going to just continue and do part two here in about 2 minutes. But in part two, we'll break down why I believe they are creating a narrative about Nat, lying about her existence, how you can prove them wrong and that she did exist, and then we'll go over why they're doing what they're doing right now. See you in about 2 minutes. Okay, recap. I explained how in part one of this stream, Menace broke down on his Twitter a really good kind of explanation for some things that had happened in the community. In this, I was going to call it a Periscope. In this Twitter space, I'm going to go into this very strange thing that's been happening lately. Let me take a drink, actually. Sorry, I had to take my medicine, and I didn't want to deal with all of it while I was in the Twitter space, so I ended it to do another one here. But so in this space, I want to go into this new invisible or non-existent Nat theory. I want to go into not the Kater Christmas attack, but I want to go into why they're doing what they're doing. And we, for the first time in a long time, are going to bring up the cult leader, but we're going to bring him up in a very, we'll say we're going to bring him up in a very non-direct way, like I try to do, so that, you know, he doesn't get his attention, his narcissistic supply. Most of you know that there is a concerted effort with a few people to push this narrative that Nat never existed. And I see a lot of people giving a theory to why they're doing what they're doing. And I really do agree with some of the theories that are out there, especially Doc's. Well, Doc Fiona. I don't want you to think I'm talking about Doc, but so a lot of you have to be asking yourself, why in the world, after everything we all experienced, being harassed, threatened, having our children targeted, having kids photoshopped into CP, and all these things that we all stood vehemently against. We, in fact, stood vehemently against the original behavior from Nat, because Nat was so extreme that we knew that Nat would eventually do something very crazy. And you can listen to all my warnings about her, because I warned about her just like I warned about a lot of extreme people. But with her, I had no idea that she would go as far as she went. I did think she would go far, but the reason we warned about her, and the reason that I put up a barrier and said I will not talk to her, I will not only ban her or any of her simps from my community, but anyone who's interacting with her for any reason, I will ban you from my Discord, and I'll ban you from my community, so that, for good reason. And now everybody seems to know why. And it was an appropriate thing to do, even though back then they were saying that I was like mean or nasty or censorship happy or something for doing it. Haven't had any apologies yet. As much as you can look back and see that with every little thing we warned about, going through stages of the content that we put up, which the content is still there to be checked on, so the evidence still is sitting right there. You can literally click and listen to me warn about this. All of those things came to fruition, and we have now the most insane theory from these people that's not just being pushed by one person as it would be made to appear. It's actually being pushed throughout the innards. I hate that word, but it's perfect for this. The innards of the anti-KJ or Kater community. Because that community is exceptionally small now, as you know. They're saying that Natalie Kennett doesn't exist. And they actually then go forward to base a lot of things on her not existing. And at first, a lot of people were saying that it was a troll and it was a joke. But as you notice, they've gone as far to attempt to dox her and then use that as justification to say that because they can't find evidence, that equates to, of course, as you know, her not existing. Now, at the same time, don't think that it's not related, that we see the return of the lobster cult leader. And most of you know why he went on a hiding spree when he gets exposed, and this has been true throughout all of his online behavior. If you look, there are many times where he has been caught doing some really fucked up stuff, and the really, really bad stuff that he knows, again, it doesn't matter if it's bad for us, it matters if it's going to be bad for his internal group. He got busted. He gets busted, and then he disappears for an amount of time. He'll private his stuff, and he won't do as much on his channels, or he'll do completely unrelated stuff rarely on his channels while he's on hiatus to try to at least keep up appearances that he still exists. Well, if you didn't know, the last thing that Steve McRae did that he got exposed and busted for, that it is the thing that caused him to lock down and disappear for like over a month. Might have even been like a month and a half or two or something. He was on a stream where they were talking about children being bullied, and he was watching porn. Now, not only was he watching porn, this is absolute, the clip exists. Everybody agrees that he was watching porn. And everybody agrees that it was just absolutely disgusting. It's one of the grossest things they've ever seen, and they can't believe that he would be watching porn while these two people were talking about their children being bullied. But he even had himself sitting in the dark, and he had his camera zoomed into his head, where you could just barely see his neck and shoulders. So I zoomed in on the footage and showed where he wasn't just sitting in the dark watching porn. He also was rhythmically gyrating one side of his body, though, just to be upfront, there are people out there who say that he wasn't rhythmically gyrating a part of his body. So just to be upfront, there are people that disagree with me, but I have checked the video in a group and asked other people if they see it or not. And most of them say yes. Some of them will say no. So, you know, wherever you want to believe, he was DSPing, which is masturbating, while watching porn, while they were talking about this topic. But in order to not have a big reaction from everyone, I'll just say he was watching porn. Okay. And when he got busted for this, as you all know, he disappeared, and his inner cult, which only exists of like 4 people, 6 people, his inner cult, well, he lost a lot of his inner cult at that time, down to 4 to 6 people. I said that wrong. But they kind of like experienced a hit in the amount of people that followed them. And so basically, if people kept supporting him after he was busted watching porn, like, we'll just go with the watching porn, because it doesn't matter. Either or, it's the same thing, whether he was touching himself at that moment or whether he was watching the porn so he could do it after, you know, he got done on the stream. It's still just as bad. Anyway, that entire group, where they were down really low, took a very visible, noticeable hit. And I mean all of them. Basically, if you had been interacting with him anytime recent to what happened, and you didn't come out and call him out when he did what he did, you also experienced the same hiatus of support that he did. And that's why you look at the group of people that we used to cover when they were in power with non-sec and had a couple hundred people watching them stream. Then when they would transferred over to the anti-KJ stuff and, you know, ended up, you know, dying off after a while. But it's kind of crazy looking back. Before I started to expose that group, I told them that we were going to annihilate their community due to what they were doing. And I told them that the reason and why and how it would happen and why it would happen, and they would just laugh about it. And I wonder if they're laughing now, right? And I do think that's one reason that they're super fucking salty still, you know? But let's move on to what we're talking about. So now you remember, now I've refreshed your memory on their cult leader getting busted watching porn on the stream and taking that long hiatus. And you are caught up on the fact that you can check me and see if they didn't get a big hiatus of people. People literally came out and publicly said they would never support them again because they defended the cult leader for watching porn on the stream. They defended the cult leader. And so they lost a lot. And that's important, because now that he's back and trying to make money on the platform and trying to affect his ultimate goals on the platform, not only do I think that there is massive justification for me to remind everybody about how I've always said that this is happened because of a harassment campaign against a person who accused another man, a man, of sexual harassment, to basically get revenge and justify the embarrassment and stuff. And I won't go into a rant on that because I don't think I have to. I think it's completely obvious. The main thing, why are they trying to say that Nat is fake and doesn't exist, while at the same time as Lobsterman comes back and does a stream where he's trying to convince everybody that he has no idea what's going on in any of the communities? Now, when he does something like that, where he tries to convince people of something, and then you look at it, not only do you laugh because of how ridiculous and how obvious of a lie it is, you got to ask yourself why he's lying. When you see them try to convince everyone of this invisible gnat conspiracy theory, you got to ask yourself why. And looking at these different behaviors from people that we know are still actively working together, I think the answer is very clear. The gnat thing is justified by the most ridiculous evidence that you have ever seen. It goes against the video evidence. It goes against years of their admissions and behavior. And it almost seems as if it's a big joke until you realize that they're being somewhat serious. They're not being serious where they know that it looks like a lie. They know that it looks like a joke to us, to every normal human being out there, but they're doing it to try in the hope of reeling back in their cult members, the people that watched them, the people that participated in their fantasies on their streams, because they've lost such a large amount of people. So they look at it and say, well, one of the reasons why we lost so many people is because of Nat. It's the backbone is Nat. And if Nat is fake, then we can get our community back. But they also need you to believe that he has no clue what's going on in any community, and that he has been out working, and that he wasn't gone due to him being busted for watching porn while 2 other people are streaming and talking about their kids on the stream that he's on. More importantly with him, he's trying to convince you of this due to recent leaked conversations that have come out. One of those leaked conversations, if you remember, do you remember when this ridiculous thing came out that Katie was going to get 50 restraining orders? Katie has 50 restraining orders, and they verified it, remember? Remember that shit? This is literally these screenshots that I've shared. You can just scroll down my Twitter and you'll see them. Now, they are down there a little bit, like a couple days, but you'll see them. Well, yesterday, I think, actually. Was it yesterday? Might have been yesterday, so they might be more recent than I thought. Anyway, when you see these screenshots of these conversations, in fact, I think I'm going to read the conversations to you. Yeah, because it's pretty fucking crazy. So let me pull it up really quick, and I'll try to talk to you for a second, and so that I'm not completely boring you. Now, remember in my last Periscope, part 1, the one before this, I read some of Menace's stuff. Let me read you something T-Spiracy said in response to Menace's post. T-Spiracy says, no tree caters. Quote, she didn't even put a tree up for her son. What a bad mom. With tree caters. Quote, look at her showing off a tree on a business page. What is wrong with her? And it's such a great point, right? It's that point that I always make, that if you go to a channel and you're trying to figure out whether you're listening to a lying hater or whether you're listening to someone offering criticism, one of the first litmus tests is to ask yourself, are they giving this person a win scenario and a loss scenario to their criticism? Or are they just hating, insulting, and attacking? They don't realize. I came to a big realization. It's why I wanted to read that AZ tweet for you. I came to this big realization a while ago about why it is that they will constantly act like other people, like Menace to Sobriety, who doesn't talk about, they act like he's obsessed with Steve, right? And that's just pure projection because they're obsessed with the people they target. But I'm sitting there like, you know, it's so obvious. It's such a bad point. Why do they keep making that point? It just makes them look really bad. And I realized that when you look at Menace and see that he isn't targeting a person, he's targeting what they're doing, and he's criticizing it so that that person could, in fact, as I said, succeed. There's a way to win for that person. They make a choice, they don't do the fucked up thing, and they win. And if you look, the accounts that are pissed at him because they got outed, they are accounts that don't have a win state for anyone that they talk about other than their friends. Now, their friends are given the ultimate win state no matter what they do, and their enemies are given the ultimate loss state. And I just wanted to share that with you because I think that it's a great litmus test when you're clicking around and listening to people. If you get into a creator and they're doing that, they're giving no win state and they're giving their friends the ultimate win state, you should definitely peace out as quickly as possible. Anyway, so you got to hear what's in these leaked screenshots here. So let me get down to them. Will only take a second. Here we go. So this is Steve talking to either. So I've been told this is him talking to the person who filed the ROs, right? At first I thought it was him talking to Nonsense, but it's not. It's Nonsense released this, and Nonsense, let me read what I said. I said, "This is insane. Somebody please explain this to me. The lobster cult creep is in DMs with someone trying to help them get an RO against KJ, and Charlotte's name was censored. WTF?" Now, I'm not trying to bring Charlotte into anything. So, in fact, I'm going to leave Charlotte completely out of this whole thing. Where she's brought up in these screenshots, I'm actually going to skip it because her daughter, I think, just had a baby, and congratulations. And I know how stressful that is. I know how busy someone is. It's the holidays, and it's a time of ultimate joy in a family. And I'm not going to even stress her one bit with anything I say, right? As long as she's taking to handle her family stuff, I will not be commenting on her. But I do want to make sure, I did want to bring her name up here because, number one, I had to read it, and people are going to wonder why I'm skipping her name in the screenshots I'm about to read you. So regardless of any criticism or issue that I have with anyone, I'm not going to include her in this commentary while she's celebrating and having this great thing in her life. I'm not gonna, I don't even want anyone who's going through that time to have any negativity around them and stress or anything, So I'm skipping her name. We can talk about it some other time. We can talk about her some other time. Okay, so let me read the screenshots. So I don't want to hear anyone giving me shit and saying that I'm protecting someone or whatever. Son of a bitch, Twitter. I don't want to hear that I'm being like unfair or something. I'm not being unfair. I'm being nice. It's holidays. Okay. So this name censored is wrong. I completely believe you. As I fact check. Nothing personal, OFC. I do it for all to say I have. So, lol. All I can say there is lol. I can't believe Lobster Man. Has not self-reflected. He has not changed at all in this long period of time. The person he's talking to says, when she tried to get me for violation, she couldn't. They said I haven't harassed. I was stating factual information. Then he says, I couldn't find any response from KJ and she is pro se. The person says, and it wasn't harassing her direct or indirect. She is so mad. Which is just bullshit. But anyway, why did KJ go pro se? I wonder. She has lawyers. Well, probably because she didn't want to fucking pay him when this person is basically filing a frivolous restraining order against her. The judge is going to see that, looking at the evidence, and throw it out because unlike what you've said, Dingbat, the judges do check the evidence and they consider people's rights before making a decision. So sometimes they do make the wrong decision. Sometimes they make the right decision. But we know in your situation, it was the right decision. And throwing out this person's, insane amount of restraining orders they tried to file against Katie. The filing of the restraining orders was just a function of the harassment. Then the person responds, probably trying to hide it. So acting like she filed a single motion pro se for this situation because she's trying to hide it, you know. The justification, these people are fucking brainwashed. Then he says like that, I don't know who served her, KJ. Then this person responds, she said she couldn't have the copy because it was e-filed. And then he says, yeah, it makes sense now. KJ is already registered with the court, so you can e-file and e-file serve to any registered user, which she is, and it's deemed served. And the person gives that comment a thumbs up. They say, hey, Steve, I'm trying to confirm what Erica sent, told me about you confirming her RO against KJ and the mess with the person's name. And he says, I have confirmed it. Getting screenshot now from filing. Can you give me a few, though? And instead of giving a screenshot, he gives a screenshot of a conversation. And then, okay, with me sharing the screenshot with blank name censored, but she said she wasn't able to ask you yet, so I figured I'd just have you confirm and say it's okay that I shared. And then he shares a page which doesn't confirm that Katie has an RO or is getting an RO, just that some psychopath is attempting to file an RO against her, just trying to file. Like the judge hasn't even accepted it yet or anything. This person just went and filed something, and he says, time and date stamped, initiated 8/1. I think it was filed on 8/2 though, but So those are the screenshots. Now, why am I reading these screenshots to you, and how does it relate to Nat and what's going on right now? And why am I bringing it up? Well, I think it's important because one of the main reasons why I want you to know about the existence of these screenshots is because if you recall, this whole thing with Katie getting 50 ROs and all that they were all screaming about, and then all of a sudden it just went away, remember? And that whole time I was telling you, it's bullshit. It's a lie. Stop letting them lie to you. And because they were lying, it was bullshit, right? But what I want you to see is just back then, like a month and a half ago, or like a month ago, or whenever it was, but it was extremely recent. This motherfucker who is on hiatus and on lockdown for literally because he was busted watching porn while these two women were talking about their kids, okay? That's some fucking creepy shit. And while he's on hiatus, he is trying to assist this person in serving with advice in serving KJ filed ROs. So the fact here is he absolutely is behind a person attempting to get KJ with a harassment restraining order. So let this sink in. Let it all sink in. Not only is he doing it, but his cult is helping him. They're taking it to fucking YouTubers. We know that some of those YouTubers, and I'm not talking about Charlotte, but other YouTubers talked about it and shared it as if it was true, to the point that you saw a bunch of like people just floating around cackling about it. Again, it wasn't true and it was bullshit. And instead of coming back and stating what happened, explaining to you what really happened, they lied and withheld the information from you. One thing that I think has been lost on the community that is a harassment group now, they've all of the followers have melted away. And the people that are left, yes, even the people that are hardcore following this whole anti-KJ community, the Kater community, not the criticizers, the Kater community, because there's people that listen to Katie criticism and they look at her as they look at any other YouTuber, and then they go look at the other content and stuff and the other stuff they do, and they are not the people I'm talking about. I'm talking about the people like Llama Drama, who wants you to give her donations based off of her stalking a person and a family. A family. She doesn't even restrict it to the YouTuber she doesn't like. She stalks the family. And don't tell me that it's not true. There's no line drawn. But this cult, now that the more that the followers melt away, by the way, it's not going to stop. It's going to keep melting the more that they stay on this. The more that it melts away, the more that people out there who refuse to admit that this is a targeted harassment campaign and has been since the beginning, just like I said, since the beginning. I'm one of the only people that was out there calling it a targeted harassment campaign from January 2020, and it started in June of 19. And I've said it ever since. And I've tried to give advice to Katie on handling these people that are responsible for the worst harassment so that it stops. Because again, the reason you have the viewership and some of these external YouTubers doing what they're doing is because they want attention from those bigger YouTubers, or because they're being led by this core group to do what they're doing. And if she cuts the head off of the snake, then the rest of them will run off and find other stuff to do, or they'll just hate Katie on their own, which is fine. You have to remember, somebody hate watching Katie is perfectly fine. Someone criticizing her, perfectly fucking fine. And that's what the entirety of the viewer base or the followers would do if these main people weren't initiating. It's not that these people are going at Katie and then people in their community are doing the harassment. We have 50 or 100 examples that are so bad that one example would be good enough. And we've got 50 or 100 examples of them doing this, leading the harassment, the worst stuff, and they're directly involved. In most cases, like, let's just say that Katie had accused me of what she accused Steve of and tried to get an RO against me, and all that stuff happened to me, right? If I found out like a year or two later that a woman was trying to get a bunch of restraining orders against Katie and they tried to contact me, I would block them, and then I would post and say, if you're trying to get an RO or something against her, do not message me. I do not want it affecting, my issue with her, and I don't want to affect your issue with her. Thank you. But no, this motherfucker wants us to believe, he wants all of you to believe that my unified theory of Katienomics, which I'll explain in a very brief explanation in a little bit, he wants you to believe that my unified theory of Katienomics is a big fucking lie. But yet, even when he ran away from the internet after getting busted touching himself, watching porn on a live stream with his camera on, with 2 other women talking about their fucking kids for an extended period of time while he was watching the fucking porn, he's still trying to fucking harass this woman. And I want you to ask why. He can't say he was doing it because his content is to expose her. He wasn't doing content. His Twitter was locked down. He can't say that he has no defense. Now, unified theory of Katienomics. What is it? Well, I can do it really quick. Back in the beginning, in January, after December 19 and things that happened, in January of 2020, I came out and told you that I had found the targeted harassment group that I was looking for. And because I had Steve, Katie, and Kyle all come to me as a commentary YouTuber, as you know, asked me to figure out where the harassment was coming from. I told them after telling them I wouldn't do it for a while, I caved in and said, fine. Interviewed all of them. And then in January of 2020, I came out and gave you the target, the person who'd done it. Shortly after, Katie got sued by Toddy Westbrook, and there were 3 people who testified against Katie in the Toddy lawsuit. And very quickly after, I had screenshots of conversations. I had a lot of proof, circumstantial and direct, of the unified theory of Katenomics, that a group of people that consisted of the hate group against Katie, the targeted harassment group against Katie, had banded together and came up with a plot to try and affect the Toddy Westbrook lawsuit. And they did this when they thought the lawsuit was going to die off, when they thought Katie was going to win the lawsuit. And they banded together in order to try and give Toddy a win and give Katie a loss, and came up with the idea of having people testify their narratives that they had built on the internet as proof in the lawsuit. And how they would do that is they would have these people go in and pretend as if these fake things that never happened were real, and then they would use all of the spam that they had initiated and instigated onto Twitter and YouTube as proof, or as the backing. You've got all these people saying that this is true. It must be true, or why would all these people say it? Now you've got this person testifying it, and you can read what they testified. You can look at who testified. It was Unveiling the Mask, Fulmer. It was Nat, and then it was Lori, or whoever it was. Unveiling the Mask, Fulmer, the person that released the 2019 screenshots, the person involved in the core level of the anti-KJ back when it wasn't a phenomenon. Back when we all were looking at this like, what the fuck is going on? These people were making fake screenshots, releasing fake screenshots, working in the background together, right? So you got Fulmer, who has literally been working with Bayer and McRae and all the people that had been leading this charge. Then when Fulmer fails, then Nat testifies. Nat walks in and testifies literally with fake shit that had been thrown around the anti-KJ community for months. More fake shit. Messed up. And Nat ended up putting screenshots into her testimony that were recently created. And instead of putting in screenshots, she included screenshots of fake things that had been bouncing around for a while, but also slipped up and put recent issues between her and Katie. You know, she had so many fake screenshots and so many fake things, she even fooled herself when she was putting her shit together. And one of those things was a DM conversation with Katie. And so since Katie could pull her DMs up and show what the original conversation was, and show that Nat's testimony had absolutely provable fake modified fucking screenshots in it that had to have come from her, her credibility was instantly nuked and it caved in everything. It's literally the reason that Toddy Westbrook had to settle with Katie. I firmly believe that Katie would have lost to Toddy Westbrook and suffered a massive L. But because these Katers came in and tried to testify, and because Saltzy didn't realize that these people were lying the whole time and faking screenshots, and he didn't even consider, because why would he? Why would someone take a chance of getting in a lot of trouble? You know? Going and testifying complete fake shit in a fucking case like that, you can go to prison for that. So the weight of the consequence was the reason why I think they used them. But I don't want to ramble. The unified theory of Katenomics essentially has an extensive amount of evidence. I've got literal conversations between the go-betweens in the Katie Hate Club when they were trying to earn their place in the cult that they have admitted were real conversations. I've got everything that proves that a core group, the only thing that people disagree with, those that also agree with me in the unified theory of Katenomics, is that some of them believe that a few other people are in the core group, or that the core group maybe is different people than what other people think. And that's just opinion. The fact of the unified theory of Katenomics is that these people did not independently go to testify in the Toddy lawsuit. They went as a plot. It was a plotted thing. It was something that they sat down and were convinced and conversated in Discord servers, in communication servers, so that they could come up with plots, and they come up with evidence and come up with things that they thought they could deliver to give a guaranteed L to KJ. And the reason that the unified theory of Katenomics is extremely relevant right now is because when looking at the broken community that's there, and looking at how these people keep lying to you about this core subject, they can't let it go. They can't stop lying about it. They can't stop being nervous about it. And I've got two theories. The first theory is that because they believe that if their audience treats Nat as an invisible person, a fake person, that it might help them rebuild their community and gain back trust with people. Now, these people are people that they lie to on a daily basis, and they have to have trust with them, or they can't lie to them on a daily basis. So they're trying to build that trust back so they can get back some of their community and start making money again online. That's theory number one. I don't believe theory number one. I think it's theory number two. I think the investigation that had been that started against Nat and the online community, when police and the FBI realized that people were trying to frame U.S. citizens and interfere with court fucking shit happening, that entire investigation, I believe, is finally starting to chug along. It takes investigations like that years. It really does. And I told you back years ago that it would be years before you saw any kind of movement in the investigation, and now it's been years. So there's another possibility to why they're acting so fucking strange lately. They're lying so much. They're out of their minds. They will invent anything. They'll lie about anything. They're just out of their fucking minds. And then I remember one thing that happened in the past. So is it that they're doing this because they think it'll help them build back their failed community and make money again? Or are they doing it because they know that the investigation is looking straight at them? Well, I don't know. But I remember something that happened that I think answers this question. It does for me, at least. There were two people that have been so paranoid throughout this entire ordeal. They are so scared by what's going on that they have told on themselves in multiple ways. And those two people, number one, is the person pushing the fake Nat theory and the lobster cult leader. So let me give you some examples. Being someone who was interviewed by Saltsy and the FBI for this investigation, along with other people who were interviewed, we factually know that the FBI is investigating, that Saltz has been telling the truth. So that's point number one. Though they want to come out and say, even though they've admitted that the FBI is looking into this, that the FBI isn't, because they lie so much. Though, do you remember when the Lobster Man was so scared and nervous that he went to the FBI headquarters and stood out in front of it, acting as if him standing there meant something? You know, he posted that thinking that it would show people, I'm not scared of the FBI, when in reality, all it did was show that he definitely does. He is worried about the FBI. And one of the strangest things, I saw a screenshot of his stream because someone was trying to show me the title of it, so they took the whole screenshot. And I noticed the FBI logo was still in the top right of his stream. I noticed that, and then I remembered how the person spreading this theory is the only other person who is so scared of the FBI that they filed those requests, the FOIA requests, on their own names multiple times to try and ease their worry that they were being looked at by the FBI. Remember? And then you say to yourself, if they hadn't done anything, they had to have done something involving Katie, involving the situation, involving the toddy suit. These people, these two people, had to have done something related to it. So number one, it has to be related to the toddy suit. And number two, it has to have been so bad that the FBI would investigate what they did and they would get in trouble for it, because that is the only time you have to file a FOIA request on yourself. Well, let me explain. Let's say you didn't do anything wrong. You already know that they're not looking at you. Let's say that you didn't do anything. There's no need for the FOIA request. Let's say you're not nervous about the FBI looking into this. Well, then you don't go to the FBI building and fucking take a picture out front of it. You don't put it in the top right corner of your screen. These people are so out of whack over the FBI looking into this whole thing from back in the beginning. It's almost like they're worried that they're going to be caught. Right? And I'm sorry, but if they would have just did all of the things where they're worried about the FBI, fine. But them filing the FOIA request, that's the nail in the coffin. That is the nail in the fucking coffin. And you all know it. That's literally the equivalent of walking into the police station and saying, I want to know if you guys are investigating me. And they're going to say, investigating you for what? Investigating me for that big drug bust that happened, at my next door neighbor's house. Why would we investigate you? I don't think you would. I just want to know if you are. If they aren't, they're going to be investigating you after that. Okay? And why else did they file FOIA requests on their own fucking names? What did they say they did it for? Well, they came back and said, see, we're not being investigated by the FBI, even though we all know if they were being investigated, it wouldn't come back on a fucking FOIA request. Then we've got basically the smart people's evidence. And I call it that because they continue to say that this next thing isn't evidence, but it really is, and it is, which is the circumstantial evidence in the situation. We've got all the lies that they told, all the lies they shared, and all the things that they did when the FBI things started to happen. We would go out and tell people what was going on based on what we could talk about, right? If we were told we couldn't talk about something, we wouldn't. But most of the stuff we could, and we would go out and try to update you guys with what was going on. Mostly because it took a lot of time out of what I did to talk to everybody I talked to and to help. And I was talked into, talking to these people because they needed the help and I could maybe help them, and they were desperate for help. And I wanted to help. I want to help people, if I can. So in order to let you guys know, hey, I'm not just wasting my time or sitting around doing nothing, but, this is what's going on. I gave you the information that I could give you. And they would immediately go and make up the most ridiculous lies around any detail that came out, even when there were many people that came out and said the exact same thing that I said. They were contacted. They were interviewed. They wanted any information that we had. We freely gave it to them, of course. Why wouldn't we? you know? Everyone in the community should want the people that are doing this shit caught and for it to stop. So that's why you notice that most innocent people, you know, they just told you what was going on. They gave you their opinion and they told, you know, did their normal thing. And the thing about it, if you look back now, we're going back how many years now? 2? In January, it'll be 3 fucking years since January of 2020. But the point in the end is that they're still doing the exact same thing they've always done. It's all lies. It's all promises. It's all secret evidence. They don't share any evidence. And then when they're asked for it, it's secret. And these are things that people do on purpose to lie to people who are weak-minded. And we all know it. We all know it. So why are they still lying? Why haven't they just come out and told us the truth about what happened back then, their part in whatever happened, and then move on? Why are they still protecting each other? Why are they still protecting the truth, hiding it and lying to everybody? No one will fucking disagree that that's what they're doing. No one will disagree. So anyway, the main thing here is that they really want your attention, my attention, anyone's attention, anyone's. They don't care if you're going to hate watch them. They don't care if you're going to fucking support them. So I'm going to ask my viewers to ignore the living fuck out of them. And you don't have to. Just a request, just a piece of advice. Let them continue to die into the irrelevancy that they deserve. And if you say anything, you demand one thing: the fucking truth. You demand them to do what should be the easiest fucking thing that they've ever done, which is to literally go back into their memory and tell everybody step by step by step what they were doing and what they did. Because I've done it this whole time. Menace has done it this whole time. I would name every single fucking person out there. T-Spiracy, Julie, everybody else has told you and been honest with you this whole fucking time. There's only the people, ironically, who I identified in the very beginning of this whole thing as the people that were lying to all of us and trying to game the system and trying to fucking, unfairly get people in trouble, get people to lose their channels, get people to lose their audiences. That's why they lie like they do, right? They do have a desire when they lie. They want people to believe them, and they want people to stop supporting the person they support, and then they'll be sitting there going, who do I support? Hey, I'm right here, the person that told you that lie. I want them to come out and tell the truth. So, Lobster Man, why the fuck are you in DMs with someone who's claiming that they are getting an RO against Katie? Why? Why are you giving them advice on how they can get an RO? And let me ask Katie a question. Katie, do you remember when you told me that you were going to sign the NDA with him because he's not going to keep talking about you and chance him getting another RO or getting in more trouble or getting sued or something? Do you maybe agree with me yet that you just should have given him the fucking RO and just laid it down on him and the others involved and walk? And because that was your chance, Katie. You now have the Lobster Man full on incel stalking you. When he talks about you, he's got porn playing on his fucking screen. And he's gyrating his left shoulder. When he's fucking out there on hiatus for being busted for watching porn on stream, he's trying to plot with people to get you an RO so that he can feel better about the RO you gave him when he deserved his. And Katie, how long until one of their little plots succeed? Because guess what, Katie? I'm not going to debunk them anymore. I'm not going to stop them. I'm not going to criticize them. They have full reign to do whatever the fuck they want. And now you've got to ask yourself, what are they going to do? Because Katie, you can lie. You can look in the mirror and lie to yourself now. And you can say, it wasn't Unirock busting their fucking every move this whole time and Menace that weighed against them with the public, with the facts, that kept them from succeeding in all their little lies and plots and plans against you. But it was. And now that you've lost that protective barrier, what are you going to do when they try their next manipulated RO, manipulated lawsuit? What are you going to do when they come at you and you have no one to fucking commentate on it? You have no community out there who knows what's really going on, who actually is pushing back against the lies they tell. What are you going to do? Do you think that you don't need anyone to do it? I'm going to tell you now, newsflash, I've been right this whole time. Yes, you do. You don't just need someone to do it. You need someone with a fucking audience to do it, with a dedicated base of people that will actually go out and fucking, when they see these people, you know, lying out there, they'll fucking lol on them, make them look ridiculous, because that's the only thing that stops the people going down in the replies to get a reality check when they get, you know, lulled by this shit and actually snap out of it and not support these fuckers. When they see the truth, they don't go jumping into the fucking sheep herd. But if that truth isn't there, there'll be a lot more people that jump into that fucking herd and start backing. It's amazing. Could you imagine? Please, peeps, put yourself in my shoes. I gave her exactly what was happening to her on a silver platter. And this is back in the beginning when she was like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to stop this. What's going on? They're coming after my kid. They're coming after my family. They're coming after me. Uni, what do I do? A couple months later, she came to me and her husband and thanked me for helping them because they had real results. Like I promised they would when the truth came out. Only the truth will give you those results. And it did. I'm telling you, she looks at this and says, these people have no power against me. Why? Look at the power they've had against you in the past. Did you really think that they had no power? If you thought that, you would have never wanted my fucking help. And you've squandered every fucking chance that you had to end this. And you had golden opportunities that most people don't get in these kind of situations. You were only given those golden opportunities because of how fucking stupid these people were. So why am I saying this to Katie? If there's anyone watching that doesn't understand, because I didn't explain it. I'm saying it because they are reorganizing right now. They're trying to. They're trying to reorganize. They're trying to go at Katie any way they can. They're starting with the insults again, attacking their religion, attacking the family, attacking the kid. It's nonstop out there. It's happening right in front of your eyes. If you haven't seen it, just go to Menace's Twitter, just look around. Now, not only are they doing that, very, very recently, they started to plot to get Katie ROs. And they used a mentally ill person in the community convinced them to go and start filing the ROs, tried to give the person advice on how to fucking file them. Oh, now you're lying on them again, Uni. The screenshots are on my Twitter. I just read them to you. Okay? And don't think more won't come out in the future. They will. Literally. Oh, this is how you serve her. Even if she doesn't so that you don't have to pay a process server and actually serve her, here's how you can do it. That's called the literal definition of what he has been accusing Nate the lawyer of doing that Nate didn't do, which was trying to give somebody advice, legal advice, on how they could fucking succeed in doing what they were doing. And this person wasn't harassed by Katie to deserve an RO. And he knew it. He didn't fucking care, man. He wants her to have an RO regardless if she deserves it or not, for his own narcissistic reasons. Right? You're on your own this time, KJ. Oh, fuck. I haven't said this entire fucking stream. Y'all, help a brother out with that vape. PayPal.me/UniRock. See you tonight. No, seriously. I seriously. I'm joking about the whole vape thing. But yeah, no. Consider supporting us. It's like the last day before. Oh, it is. Thank fucking God. Yeah. Tomorrow night is the 1st, so we get paid tomorrow at midnight. So any donations would help immensely. Of course, they're optional. Follow me. I'll see you tonight.